franktalks.com.
We are still not out of the woods when it comes to reaching a post-COVID world. Depending upon where you live, you've probably dealt with at least one lockdown period. We're living in different times, and rather than saying that we are looking to get back to normal, we should probably look at getting back to a new and different kind of normal. And that normal includes dating. What was dating like during COVID and also in a post-COVID world? We put that question to relationship coach Frank Kermit, who is back on the show. He joins us via Skype from right here in Montreal. Hi, Frank.
Hello, Peter, and how are you, sir?
Just tickety-boo, just tickety-boo. Thanks very much for being on the program with us. I was looking at my records and I realized it was almost 2 years you've been on the program. We've got to rectify that. It can't be so long between visits.
I'm always happy to do your show, and for the last couple of years, I've actually been working on a few personal projects, including my health.
Excellent, excellent. So the idea of dating in a COVID world, I get the kind of feeling that what's happening right now with people out there is similar to almost trying to hook up at last call at a bar.
I got to tell you, when COVID first hit, I thought, that's it. I'm going to have to find a new way to make a living. Who's going to want to date in the middle of a pandemic? Every forum that I had read from dating coaches and so on seemed to think that, yeah, it's going to be great. People are going to have to take the time to get to know each other online before they ever meet, and this is going to be wonderful. And I've never seen anything like it, Peter. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I can tell you now, people are hooking up and having sex and dating more during COVID than they did before COVID.
Okay, so that aside, what to you has been the biggest surprise about people wanting to get into a relationship or even just simply hooking up? What's been the biggest surprise over the last year?
The biggest surprise is that when COVID hit and people were not allowed to go out to bars, to movies, not allowed really to socialize, all the distractions that a single person would have to keep them busy so that they didn't, quote unquote, need to date, they didn't need a stable partner. Suddenly, all those distractions are not available to them. And what they realized is, oh, this is why I should have sought out a relationship. Because when things are tough in a crisis period, having someone there willing to be with you and work through the crisis with you is a very rare thing. And it can be very helpful and help people deal with isolation and loneliness better than most things can. So a lot of people who always said, I'm happily single, suddenly realized they're not so happy. And so they all delved in to dating.
Well, I can simply state without a shadow of a doubt, I am still one of the happily single people. But anyway, that aside, I did happen to read your article, which was entitled, People Are Having More Sex During COVID, Not Less. And the one thing that caught my eye, which I found very interesting, is for those who are people who have gone from relationship to relationship to relationship and just couldn't find one that clicked for them for whatever reason, they discover when they just want companionship and they have a friend staying with them during the COVID period in a lockdown, they realize that the problem in the relationship might have been them, that they're the difficult person to live with.
People have been reporting to me that when they found themselves single during these lockdowns, if they did not have a significant other, some people actually tried living with a friend, figuring some companionship is better than none, only to find that when you take two people who loved being single and didn't like having to share their space, that when now they are forced to share their space, suddenly the gremlins of their personality come to the surface. And it turns out that some people just aren't very easy to live with. So maybe the reason that they're single isn't because they can't find a better person, is that they themselves need to be a better person.
Oh, interesting point. Now, I'm going to ask you to rub up your crystal ball here, although admittedly you said your crystal ball was off when going into COVID, when what you thought was going to happen didn't happen over this last year. What do you think relationships, or at least dating, not necessarily relationships, what do you think dating will be like post-COVID?
Well, I can tell you what I hope is going to happen, and then I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
What I hope is going to happen is that COVID was a wake-up call for people who maybe need to modify their lifestyle a bit. Maybe they need to start living within their means. Some people haven't had the opportunity to really earn a living for some time, and they're now thinking maybe there's a different career path I should follow. I know some people who have moved out of the city centers and are moving further out into the country areas where they have a huge garden space that they're going to make use of. Things that people have been toying with and thinking about for years, suddenly they're getting into. It is my hope that they are going to continue to do that as well in the world of dating. That maybe a lot of criteria that they thought was super important turns out that no, in a crisis situation, you really don't need to worry about what your friends and family think about the person you're dating. Because you're the one who's going to suffer the consequences if you choose wrongly, and you're the one who's going to benefit the rewards if you choose well. So my hope is that people are going to stay open-minded about dating. Sometimes, and this is something else that's been reported to me from my client base, people who rejected them suddenly are looking them up again, saying, do you want to try now? People contacting exes, that has always existed with social media, but it's become more rampant that people are reaching out to past connections, trying to see that, hey, maybe we could make it work out. That's what I hope is going to happen, that people are going to be less shallow and a lot more open-minded to make sure that their needs are met so that they don't have to suffer the same way they've been suffering for the last year and a half. That's my hope.
You also talked about in the article the people who, it doesn't make a difference how early in life or how late in life they are, the people who have been virgins who suddenly feel they want to get over that virginity hurdle in a hurry. And again, it doesn't make a difference whether they're 17 or 70.
Oh, how am I going to say this in a nice way? Because, I don't want to be too politically incorrect. So I'll simply put it to you like this. The mentality is COVID. I might die. Well, I don't want to die alone. I don't want to die a virgin. Suddenly losing their virginity, and we're not talking about teenagers here, we're talking about adults who, for whatever reason, were never able to make a connection with somebody long enough for the loss of virginity to happen. Suddenly, a lot of them have made it their number one priority because they don't want to die alone and they don't want to die a virgin. So there has been a real rush to make a love life a priority and finding a competent partner. The mentality is, if I'm going to get COVID and die in 3 months, I would like to die knowing that I've been in love.
I'm just wondering, I'm thinking of the movie title, The Year of Living or A Year of Living Dangerously. And the reason why I bring that up is you talk about people having more sex rather than less sex during the year of COVID. Is this similar to the situation going back to the last century, to the height of the AIDS epidemic, where there were still a lot of gays who decided, to hell with it, I'm still going to hook up? Is that a similar mindset to people with COVID, in the COVID era today, saying, to hell with the chance that I could be dead in 3 months, I'm going to hook up?
I don't want to make a direct correlation because I don't know if there is one. I haven't researched that, so I don't want to make a statement that I cannot back up.
Okay.
I will say this. In every period of crisis, in every traumatic world event, there are people who will find love in those traumatic events. Prisoners of war, the Holocaust, whenever there's a weather disaster that completely cripples an entire society, there will be people who, in that horrible state, will manage to connect and find love. Because that is something as human beings we are drawn to. So for some individuals right now who aren't happy with their lives and they're not happy with the lockdowns and the restrictions, what's left for them? What's left for them is, if I am going to die in the next coming months, let me find love. Let me make sure that I don't die alone. Let me know that even if I'm heading out, I was able to connect with someone who gave me some happy days. And I think that's more the effect of it. They know there's a risk. and this is one of my pet peeves, is that some of the people who I know are hooking up more and dating more are the same individuals who go on social media complaining that not enough people are social distancing and wearing masks. As a coach, people tell me things they don't tell their friends. They tell me things they don't tell their family. Sometimes they will tell me things that they don't tell their therapists. So the image that they have of social distancing and what they're doing behind closed doors is very different. And I think part of the motivation is fear. They don't know what's going to come of this, but they do know that their mortality is being shoved right in their face. And in response to that, they want to connect.
Always interesting talking to you, Frank. As I mentioned, the article that you wrote is entitled "People Are Having More Sex During COVID, Not Less." We'll put a link into that article on our website so that people can take a look at it. I thank you once again for being on the program with us.
Peter, it is always a pleasure. I'm a big fan of the Stuff File, and I got to tell you, I am so happy to be back on your show.
Relationship coach Frank Kermit. You can check out his website at franktalks.com, and you can go to my website at thestufffile.com, check on the show number for this program, which is show number 0607, and you'll find the link to his site and also the link to the story he wrote on this very issue.
Need help with love, sex, dating, and relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com. Coaching available in person, by phone, and by Skype. For singles, couples, and alternative lifestyles, franktalks.com.